I'm releasing this video a little off schedule because between the blog post and the video I did on what is a warrior, I got a few comments and a bit of email asking questions, mocking me. One suggested I need to grow up and smell the 21st century, which is poetry and maybe half true. Maybe I was talking too fast or left too much out in the editing, but I thought I'd try to explain this again. So, here we go. The Warrior Code for Beginners, Part 1. The purpose of a warrior's code is to help him find his way through a very difficult set of circumstances, to help him navigate atrocity and heartbreak without becoming either a monster or a self-pitying ball of mush. The code does this by limiting what we're willing to do in battle. And this is the part that confused a handful of men who I suspect have never pulled a trigger. I don't mean to suggest that I am the be-all, end-all, ultimate manifestation of the American soldier. But I did convoy escorts for a year in Iraq and coin operations, that's counterinsurgency operations in Afghanistan. I've been in a few firefights, and as a medic, I've held the wounded hopes and dreams of families in my hands. And it didn't always go my way. So one part of a warrior code is to remind that warrior of his obligations during peacetime, when the importance of having a code might seem less important. Your brothers are depending on you to be strong, fast, resilient when battle comes. So you have to train. Many warrior orders, all of the medieval orders, and the samurai, though they're not an order, they all included meditation and prayer in that training in order to safeguard the warrior's psyche and help him keep his wits about him, and then keep to the code when in the heat of battle. Training is an obligation you have to both your cause and to those brothers who stand with you to serve that cause. So again, the Soldier's Creed and the Rule of the Knights Templar both instruct the warrior to stay fit, well trained. Another fascinating coincidence in the Soldier's Creed, the Templar Rule, and so many other codes is a reminder that the code and the cause are more important than the warrior's individual life. The U.S. Army's Soldier's Creed says it plainly. I will always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat. I will never quit. I will never leave a fallen comrade. And Templar Rule 168 says that even if wounded or defeated, the Templars do not leave the field if their banner's still flying, and to do so is a mortal sin. Musashi said, look lightly upon your own existence, but think deeply of the world. He means that you're not the center of the world. You're expendable in order to preserve those causes we think make the world a better place. He also reminds us that since you can preserve your honor, even though your flesh will one day be dust, you have an obligation to preserve your honor. I think the main purpose of this outlook is to make us understand it. Since our code and our cause are more important than our lives, we don't use saving our lives as an excuse to commit atrocity, violate our code, smear the name and honor of whatever cause we've chosen to serve in this fashion. So we have to choose our codes and our causes carefully, because as warriors, we're setting that cause and some values associated with it ahead of our own existence. Now, we're all going to be imperfect in adherence to our codes, but we have to take them seriously and recognize that what our moral failings are and what those failings mean to our brothers and our cause. You know, death before dishonor and all that. But possibly the least understood purpose of a warrior code is to protect the warrior himself. A code that limits what men are willing to do in battle, to the innocents that get in the way, that protects us from certain psychological damage, from what my grandfather would have plainly called sin. I've already read and heard the comments about all is fair in love and war, and I thought I addressed it before, but I might have been talking too fast. So many men that haven't been in a fight since grade school want to convince me that they can kill another human being in any ugly fashion, never lose a minute's sleep. Unless you're one of those who's already done that, proven it, I want to call bullshit. Again, every day between 17 and 27 veterans end their own lives. These are men who spent those lives training physically and psychologically to kill. But when they come home and have to face that experience, sometimes men find they've left something on the battlefield that we can't live without. A warrior code sets boundaries on our behavior so that after we have violated that ultimate taboo, that first law that says thou shalt not murder, we don't have to do a bunch of mental gymnastics about whether what we did was right or wrong. Those gymnastics are done. Killing a man isn't easy. Unless you're in a berserker rage or a psychopath, it might be easy in the actual doing. But the act of killing doesn't begin with squeezing a trigger and end with your enemy falling. It goes on and on every night for the rest of your life. A warrior defends his tribe, his country, his society. The warrior defends a world where killing is held to be abhorrent and immoral. And he does that by violating that great taboo. You kill to preserve a world where other people can look down on killing. And we all know in the deepest core of our psyche, it's wrong to kill. It's hard to kill. We know that it's hard. That's why the wannabes are so determined to convince us that it isn't hard for them. And somehow that total lack of conscience makes them better men than us. It doesn't. Killing is hard. Killing is supposed to be hard. It's why firing squads were never told who had the live round and why men being hanged had a hood put over their head. You can see where the profession of arms can lead some to develop degrees of guilt and self-loathing if they don't prepare themselves, their minds, for the more horrible aspects of what we're going to do and see. Now, I don't mean to sound like one of those whiny fucks down at the VA who can't stand the sound of fireworks even though they've never been under meaningful artillery fire. Most of us recognize that the people we killed were assholes who needed to be dead. It's unfortunate, and we might hate it. But our codes and our training help us live with it by demanding that we never step over the line. We don't kill an innocent. We don't endanger an innocent. We don't intentionally do more injury than we must. A warrior understands that sometimes you have to kill a mad dog, but you don't kick it first or after. The warrior's code is rooted in honor to prevent the sin of hypocrisy. If you see your friend set aflame by a flamethrower while he's trying to surrender, you might develop a special kind of hate for an enemy that would do that. The enemy that would deny the basic fucking humanity of your brother in arms. The temptation to act out and do the same sort of whatever to our enemies can be a strong one. So our warrior code serves to remind us that we don't do that. That it is never a question of who started the atrocity ball rolling, because even when we've seen it done, we didn't do it. That is to say, things like we don't shoot parachuting airmen who are helpless. We don't use bayonets that are intended to be especially cruel in the killing, and we do not use fucking flamethrowers. You don't have to see many burn patients to understand that no matter our disagreement, honorable men do not intentionally do that to other men. And it's not a case of we won't do this so that they won't do this. It's a recognition that we won't do this because we are honorable men and not the sort of assholes who do that shit. I think about those Marines who were disciplined for urinating on a dead insurgent's body. Now, make no mistake, I killed a few bad guys, and I didn't like them. And I didn't like the fucked up ideology that keeps them making war on us even today. But how would we react to the enemy treating our dead like that? Would we shrug it off and say, shit happens in war, like so many have wanted to say about that instance? Or would we feel that sort of disgust that helps erase our recognition of an enemy's humanity? Then we have to recognize that when we do that shit, it erases our humanity. A warrior's code reminds us that even if we have to kill our enemy in order to defend what we love, violating his woman, hurting his children, desecrating his body or his temples, that makes us unworthy to ever stand again in front of that cause we love, that cause we claim to serve. One of the most difficult parts of being a warrior, of training to be a warrior, is that ferocious passion that inhabits us but must not be followed. It's too easy to do unto others as they have done and fail to recognize that excuse carries no weight after the fact when you're alone with your dead in the middle of the night. And another aspect of the code, whether the rule of the Templars or the Soldier's Creed, is that we hold our brothers to it. We remain honorable, and then we insist that they remain honorable. We are our brother's keeper in all things. Of course, we fight to preserve his life, but we also help him guard his morality so that he can go home and kiss his children without the memory of his sins weighing him down. I'm always reminded of Achilles having that moment of childish, immature tantrum when he defiles the body of Hector. We all understand that Achilles is mad at Hector for killing his best friend. We all understand that heartbreaking rage, and so many of us have felt it for the same reason. But Achilles lets himself forget the nature of war and that men die. And that it's only been a few days since Achilles and Patroclus were slaughtering the friends of Hector. And Achilles knows what he's doing is wrong. Hector isn't the first warrior whose body is mutilated behind a chariot. But when Diomedes mutilated the body of the Amazon queen Penthesilea, it was Achilles who retrieved her body for a proper burial. I'm way off tangent. Okay, my point is someone should have saved Achilles from his sin just as he tried to save Diomedes from his. They had a common code as Greek warriors. And part of that code is to make sure your brothers go home as intact as possible, physically, psychologically, morally. As warriors, we might do monstrous things, but we have to stand before our cause as good men when that fighting's done. So I hope this helps. I hope this helps to make my position clear, if not actually convince anybody. I know the idea of honor and codes and all that seems naive and trite to a culture focused on money, prestige, social media fame. But those are still the things most worth believing in. Those are the things that men need today now. We can't blame society for putting us in a certain position because we made that society. And we continue making it every day. And we have to adopt this code founded on honor, demanding honor, insisting on honor, in order for our society, our culture, our nation, our families to find honor. If we don't wrestle with the idea and make our own claims on honor being important and our honor being important, then we certainly don't get to complain when the rest of the world goes to hell. And, well, and so on. Hey, so thanks for watching. I think this was my longest video yet. I don't know how many of you fell by the wayside listening to me rant. I did want to make something clear. In the video, I use the word sin a lot, and I talk about temples and gods, and I talk about the Templars. I don't want to give anyone the impression that I'm trying to foist any religion on you. My own case, I mean, I don't even want to put a box on it. I pray to my ancestors more than I pray to the divine. I quote that rabbi that they founded that one religion on. Then I wear a pendant that says I'm an Odinist. So I mean, I'm not trying to box you guys in. I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm not trying to make you think a certain way, other than to keep hammering home the idea that a man has his honor, needs his honor, and has to have a code to preserve that honor. We're going to talk about how we're going to develop that code in the next video. I can't remember if I had anything else I wanted to say here at the end of this one. I would apologize for the length. If you haven't had enough of me, there's going to be a video. Maybe it's over here. Maybe it's over here. Maybe it's not up yet, because I don't know how to edit very well. I'll keep working on it if you'll be patient with me. Man, I'm glad you were here, and I hope I see you again soon.